Meeting to order. We are being recorded this evening, and I know none of us is making a recording. We don't have any hearings tonight. Discussion. The first thing is a continued discussion on the bylaw regulations.
Okay.
So,
when we last discussed these in January, we had gotten to the top of page 17,
right,
of the Needham regulations. So I say we plug along for as long as we can stand it. And then at some point we'll maybe go half an hour.
Yeah, and we probably won't get through it, I don't think.
No, we won't. It's too long. I think there's
a half hour.
Total.
We'll plan on like 7:45 we'll conclude with this, okay?
All right. All right. Required project plans. All plans submitted to the Commission must be stamped and signed by a professional engineer or registered land surveyor and must conform with the following guidelines. 1, or bullet point. All plans shall be at the scale of 1 inch equals 40 feet or 1 inch equals 20 feet. The boundaries of all resource areas shall be clearly shown. The 100-foot buffer zone from all pertinent resource areas shall be clearly shown. The 25-foot buffer zone and the 50-foot buffer zone shall also be clearly shown. The locations and numbers of all wetland flags must be clearly shown. Certification from the wetlands biologist responsible for the wetland delineation must be provided, stating the basis for the wetland delineation, the date on which the delineation was performed, and stating that the flagging as indicated on the plans appears to be correct. All existing and proposed grades must be shown based on 1-foot contours. Plans must also show all roads, paths, stone walls, and structures present on the site. The limit of work or clearing must be shown together with the minimum distance to any resource area. All erosion control measures must be shown and must be sufficient to prevent any silt or sediment from entering the wetland resource areas. Plans must indicate the type of erosion measures to be used, details showing the installation of such measures, and the locations of any areas to be revegetated following construction. B. The Commission is in an appropriate case may accept as the application and plans under this bylaw the notice of intent and plans filed under the Wetlands Protection Act, MGL Chapter 131, Section 40. C. Any person filing an application for permit with the Commission under the bylaw at the same time shall give written notice thereof in accordance with section, and I think the section may change, but here it's section 6.5 of the bylaw to all abutters who are defined, according to the most recent records of the assessors, including those across a traveled way, and to all other persons as the Commission shall in writing require. The notice shall enclose a copy of the application with plans, or shall state where such copies may be examined, and shall provide the time and place of the public hearing. Written notice shall be provided to all abutters not less than 5 business days prior to the hearing. D. When a person filing an application is other than the owner, the application and notice of the hearing shall be sent by the applicant to the owner. The applicant shall supply the Commission with the name, current address, and telephone number of the owner. In the event the applicant is not the owner must co-sign the application or provide the Commission with written evidence that the owner is aware of the application and consents to the proposed work. E. Within 14 days of receipt of an application for a permit, the Commission shall issue a file number and schedule a hearing, or notify the applicant by mail to the address provided in the application if the application is not complete. In the event that notice is given to the applicant or his representative pursuant to section 4D above, that the application is not complete, the 21-day period described in section, and against the comment section or the definition section, shall not commence until the application is deemed complete by the Commission. The designation of a file number shall not imply that the plans or supporting documents have been judged adequate for the issuance of a permit, but only that copies of the minimum submittal requirements have been filed. In an appropriate case, the Commission may use the same file number issued by DEP. Now, I'll just stop right there because we do not, or have not in the past, issued file numbers.
No, we have not.
So I don't know if that's something we want to consider.
No.
To me, it's like you're going to be having a filing under
DP.
Probably people are going to use the same document, and they're going to add on to the notice of intent that the state issues. They're probably going to put in the Auburn Wetlands bylaw, section whatever. That's what they always used to do years ago. And you use the same document, so you don't have two separate files.
And I agree, but we're going to have to amend this then.
Yeah.
I usually file everything according to address, too. That's what they're wanting to do here with all departments.
Right.
So just going back to E, under the second sentence or second line, I would cross out issue of file number and those words, so that it now reads, the commission shall schedule a hearing. And then I would cross out the whole last sentence, or the last two sentences, actually.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. F, in the event that only a portion of a proposed project or activity lies within an area subject to protection under the bylaw, all aspects of the project must be described in the detail called forth in section, and it gives a section number. In such circumstances, the application for permit shall also contain descriptions and calculation of peak flow and estimated water quality characteristics of discharge from a point source, both closed and open channel, when the point of discharge falls within an area subject to protection under the bylaw. G, notwithstanding the foregoing, when the commission has determined that an activity outside the area subject to protection under the bylaw has in fact altered an area subject to protection under the bylaw, it may require such plans, supporting calculations, and other documentation as are necessary to describe the entire activity. H, an application for permit may be rejected by the commission if 1. The filing is deemed incomplete. 2. A special permit or variance from the Zoning Board of Appeals is required and has not been applied for or obtained. Or 3. A Board of Health permit is required and has not been applied for or obtained.
Is that something we want in there? Both of those last 2 points? Because right now, the way the regulations are, it says that they're supposed to apply for any other permits that are needed. It doesn't say that they have to have them.
Right.
I mean, a lot of times applicants are coming before the planning board, the zoning board of appeals, and us concurrently. The ZBA, for example, only meets once a month.
Right.
I mean, that could really be a cumbersome process if you don't hit it just right. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I don't mind the fact that they need to apply for other applicable permits, but I don't think that ours should be held hostage by the others.
It does say may, though, not shall.
Yeah, I mean, it's not mandatory. It is discretionary.
Well, I guess then that begs the question, why do they even bother to have it there? But
Because they want to reserve the right to do it. You know, if they, for whatever reason, depending on the type of project, if they feel that the permit should have been required. I mean, I see both points here.
Well, like, let's take an example. When we had a case where there was a tight tank needed, right? But that was not for accepting the application for a permit. That was for something else. That was for our ruling, I guess. We required that. So this is saying we won't even take an application unless these other permits have already been.
Well, it says it may be rejected if the other permits aren't in place.
Right, but the thing is, can you imagine if the ZBA and the planning board had a similar stipulation? How would anyone get any permit ever?
What we could do is we could modify 2 and 3 by crossing out or obtained. In other words, if a project requires, like to use your example, a tight tank where they need a Board of Health approval, it would be nice to know that when they came before us that they had at least applied for it.
Okay, yeah, I'd be agreeable with that.
What do you think,
Other
Ed?
people would, but.
I think that's okay, because that's in the regulations now.
Okay.
Oh,
You know?
okay.
It doesn't say you have to obtain it, it says you're supposed to be applying for them
Okay.
in the wetlands regulations.
Okay.
I think at a minimum we can, they can answer it or represent they've done that. Okay. 5, public hearing on applications for permit. Public hearing on an application for permit shall be held by the commission within 21 days of receipt of the minimal submittal requirements set forth in section 1.054A, which may be different under ours, and shall be advertised by the commission at the expense of the applicant no less than 5 business days prior to the hearing in a newspaper of general circulation in the town and in accordance with the requirements of the open meeting law. Notice of the hearing shall be mailed by the commission to the applicant and to the owner if other than the applicant. B, the commission in an appropriate case may combine its hearing under the bylaw within the hearing conducted under the Wetlands Protection Act and Mass General Laws, Chapter 141, Section 40.
It's because it's 131, section 40.
It says 141.
I know, but it's 131.
And not only that, but I mean, of course. All right.
Isn't it usually 7 days too for the hearing
I was going to
notice?
say, I was just going
No,
to
the
question.
hearing notice in the newspaper has to be in the paper 5 business
Just
days.
5 business days.
Right, doesn't count, Saturdays and Sundays don't count, holidays
Yeah.
don't count.
I mean, clearly, well, all right. I guess we leave,
5 business days.
we leave B the way
Right.
it is, but change 141 to 131.
Yeah.
All right. C, public hearings may be continued as follows. 1, without the consent of the applicant to a date certain for reasons stated at the hearing, which may include receipt of additional information offered by the applicant or others, information and plans required of the applicant, additional information deemed necessary by the commission in its discretion, or comments and recommendations of other local or state boards and officials. 2, with the consent of the applicant to an agreed upon date, which shall be announced at the hearing. Or 3, with the consent of the applicant for a period not to exceed 21 days after the submission of a specified piece of information or the occurrence of a specific action. The date, time, and place of said continued hearing shall be publicized in accordance with the bylaw, and notice shall be sent to all abutters according to the most recent records of the assessors, including those across the traveled way, and to all other persons as the commission shall in writing require. 6. Permits regulating the work. A. Within 21 days of the close of the public hearing, the commission shall issue or deny the permit. B. If the permit is issued, it shall impose such conditions as deemed necessary by the commission for the protection of one or more of the interests identified in the bylaw and/or in these regulations. The permit shall impose conditions on the work or portion thereof that will, in the judgment of the commission, result in removing, dredging, filling, building upon, or altering an area subject to protection under the bylaw. The permit shall impose conditions setting limits on the quantity and quality of discharge from a point source, both closed and open channel, when said limits are necessary to protect the interests identified in the bylaw. C. The permit shall prohibit any work or portions thereof that cannot be conditioned to protect said interests. D. If the permit is denied, it shall be for one or more of the following reasons. 1. For failure to meet the requirements of the bylaw. 2. For failure to submit necessary information or plans requested by the commission. 3. For failure to meet design specifications, performance standards, or other requirements of these regulations. 4. For failure to avoid or prevent unacceptable or cumulative effects upon the wetland values protected by the bylaw. 5. Where the commission determines that no conditions are adequate to safeguard the wetland values protected by the bylaw. E. A permit shall be valid for 3 years from the date of its issuance. The commission may issue a permit expiring 5 years from the date of issuance for recurring or continuous maintenance work, providing that annual notification of time and location of work is given to the commission. F. The permit shall be signed by a majority of the commission and shall be mailed or hand-delivered to the applicant or the applicant's agent and to the owner of record. G. A copy of the plans describing the work and the permit shall be kept on file by the commission and shall be available to the public at reasonable hours. H. Prior to the commencement of any work permitted or required by the permit shall be recorded in the Registry of Deeds or the Land Court for the district in which the land is located within the chain of title of the affected property. In the case of recorded land, the permit shall also be noted in the registry's grantor index under the name of the owner of the land upon which the proposed work is to be done. In the case of registered land, the permit shall also be noted on the Land Court certificate of title of the owner of the land upon which the proposed work is to be done. Certification of the recording shall be sent to the commission. If work is undertaken without the applicant first recording the permit, the issuing authority may issue an enforcement order or may itself record the permit and seek reimbursement of any recording fees from the applicant. I. For good cause, the commission may revoke or modify a permit issued under this bylaw after public notice and public hearing and notice to the holder of the permit. J. The commission, in an appropriate case, may combine the permit or other action on an application issued under the bylaw with the order of conditions issued under the Wetlands Protection Act Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40. 7. Extensions of permits. The Commission may, in its sole discretion, extend a permit once for an additional period of up to 3 years, except as described in B below. Requests for extensions must be made to the Commission in writing at least 30 days prior to the expiration of the permit. B. The Commission may deny a request for an extension and require the filing of a new application for a permit for the work or any remaining work as the case may be. C. In order to be valid, the extension permit must be signed by a majority of the Commission. D. The extension permit shall be recorded in the Land Court or the Registry of Deeds, whichever is appropriate. Certification of recording shall be sent to the Commission. If work is undertaken without the applicant so recording an extension permit, the Commission may issue an enforcement order or may itself record the extension permit and seek reimbursement for any recording fees from the applicant.
Okay, relative to this, this only allows you to give one extension for 3 years.
Right.
The wetland, 13140 allows you to give limitless extensions.
Okay.
There have been things extended, because I always thought it was 3 extensions, but Mr. Bellino told me a while ago that there are a number of projects around the state that have been continued for years. So just something to think about. I don't know if you want to leave it at this, because that would really, significantly change some of these things.
Well, did the text here say only
It
one
said
extension?
somewhere in here, when
It said
Michael was
once
reading, it
under
said
7A.
once. You can extend it once for 3 years.
It does say that in 7A. I mean, what we could do is we can just take out once and we can say, may in his sole discretion
Once,
extend
okay.
a permit for additional periods of up to 3 years.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Sorry, what was the wording again, did you say?
What I did is I crossed out once after permit, I crossed out and, so now it reads extended permit for additional periods of up to 3 years. Okay. 8. Certificates of compliance. All requests for certificates of compliance shall be accompanied by a written statement by a registered professional engineer, architect, landscape architect, land surveyor, or other signatory approved by the Commission, certifying that there has been full compliance with the terms of the permit and with the plans submitted with the application. If the project is not fully in compliance with the plans and permit, the request for a certificate of compliance must fully describe in detail all work not completed in accordance with the plans and order. B. Prior to the issuance of a certificate of compliance, a site inspection may be required by the Conservation Commission. C. Upon written request by the applicant, including all information required in D below and any other requirements as may be set forth in the permit, review of a certificate of compliance shall be completed by the Commission within 21 days of receipt thereof.
Okay, now is that something that you're comfortable with?
Not necessarily.
No, exactly. Like if it's wintertime,
Well, that's it.
it's a little tough to give a certificate of compliance if there's 3 feet of snow on the
Then I would say within a reasonable time.
Is everybody okay with that?
Okay. D. If the Commission determines that a certificate of compliance is warranted, it shall certify that the activity or portions thereof described in the application for permit and plans has been completed in compliance with the permit. In order to be valid, the certificate of compliance must be signed by a majority of the Commission. E. If the Commission determines after review and inspection that the work has not been done in compliance with the permit, it may refuse to issue a certificate of compliance. Such refusal shall be issued within 21 days of receipt of a request for a certificate of compliance, shall be in writing, and shall specify the reasons for denial. And I think for the same reason we modified C, we need to modify E. Or do you disagree?
Well, to deny someone, you want to tell them right away, though.
The problem, though, is that if, say, there's 3 feet of snow on the ground, and we get a certificate of compliance, it may take us a while
To go out there and
to
take
go
a
out there
look.
and take a look.
Well, it
But this says after review
Oh.
and inspection, I mean, it shouldn't take us another 21 days just to decide after we've taken a look.
Then you're right, that's
Good
fine.
point.
Okay, never mind. F, if the permit contains conditions which continue past the completion of the work, such as maintenance or monitoring, the certificate of compliance shall specify which, if any, of such conditions shall continue. The certificate shall also specify to what portions of the work or portions of a property it applies, if it does not apply to all of the work or areas regulated by the permit. G, in the event that the permit allows replication, replacement, or restoration of any resource area, conditions pertaining to same shall continue for 2 growing seasons after planting has been completed. No certificate of compliance shall be issued until such replication, replacement, or restoration has been completed in accordance with the conditions of the permit. At its discretion, the Commission may issue a partial certificate of compliance if all of the requirements of the order have been fully complied with prior to the full establishment of the replication or restoration area. H, the certificate of compliance shall be recorded in the Land Court or Registry of Deeds, whichever is appropriate. Certification of recording shall be sent to the Commission. 1.06, emergencies. Any person requesting permission to do an emergency project shall specify why the project is necessary for the protection of the health or safety of the public, and what agency of the Commonwealth or subdivision thereof is to perform the project or order it to be performed. 2. The request may be written or oral, but if oral, must be confirmed by written notice within 24 hours of work commencement. 3. The request must be made prior to commencement of any work, except in the case of an emergency response conducted by public officials in order to safeguard life, health, and property damage. 4. The majority of the Commission must certify the work as an emergency project.
Now, see, that's different than the wetlands regulations,
Okay.
but
I think it's still a good idea, though.
yeah. So I'll call all you guys at 6 o'clock on Sunday morning.
And
Didn't give a
you'll get my voicemail. 5. Within 21 days of commencement of an emergency project, a permit application shall be filed with the Commission for review as provided in the bylaw and in this regulation. 6. An emergency certification shall be issued only for protection of public health or safety or the protection of wetland resource areas. 7. The work must be performed exclusively during the time and place certified by the Commission for the limited purpose of abating the emergency. The time limit for performance of emergency work shall not exceed 30 days from date of certification by the Commission. 1.07, severability. The invalidity of any section of these regulations shall not invalidate any other section or provision thereof, nor shall it invalidate any permit or determination which previously has been issued. If the Court of the Commonwealth shall invalidate any provision of the bylaw of these regulations, the Conservation Commission shall promulgate additional regulations or present to the next town meeting after such invalidation amendments to the bylaw or regulations which are designed to comply with any court decision invalidating such provision or regulation as the case may be. Then there's language of an effective date, which we will have to figure out. So the effective date of the regulation shall be blank. And the provisions of these regulations shall apply to all work performed after that date.
How are we going to establish that? Like, in other words, we have to, like, send it out to anybody? Or like, hey,
I don't
look,
think so.
look at our regs.
Well, we have the right to, the responsibility to promulgate the regulations. And as I understand it, we'll probably have a public hearing on it, and then it's done, just like the planning board subdivision regulations.
Mm-hmm. So I think what will happen is we get it in final form, we make any final revisions, we have a public hearing, and then if there are no objections, or if after that public hearing, we can set a drop dead date. Okay. 1.09, enforcement. Any person who violates any provision of the bylaw, the rules and regulations promulgated under it, or any conditions of a valid permit shall be punished by a fine of not more than $300 per day for each offense. Each day or portion thereof of a continuing violation shall constitute a separate offense. The bylaw, these rules and regulations, and all orders of conditions may be enforced in accordance with the bylaw by any town police officer or any other officer having police powers. In the case of any unauthorized work, the offense shall be deemed to continue each day until the area is restored to the condition that existed prior to the commencement of unauthorized work. How do we feel about $300 a day?
I'm trying to remember what it is in the
Is that a sort of
regulations.
standard?
No, it's,
I thought it was less. We can make it whatever we want.
I think
It's a maximum, right? It's not saying it's going to be
Not
at least
more
three.
than-
Kind of not more.
Not
than-
more. Yeah, that's fine, so we'll just leave it.
We'll leave it the way it is.
That's right. Not more than $1 million per day.
You scare them.
or your firstborn.
We don't do that anymore. The members and agents of the commission may enter upon privately owned land for the purposes of performing their duties under the bylaw and these rules or regulations.
Now, that
I
one-
think there has to be a caveat to that, though.
Yeah, definitely.
The caveat has to be, I would take that first sentence and just say, provided that the land is not posted with no trespassing signs. Because in Massachusetts, criminal trespass arises when your land is posted with no trespassing and then you go onto the property without permission.
And from what I understand, they can not only go after the town, the commission, they can go after us personally.
Right.
But
But I think-
this conflicts actually with the state regulations
So that
too,
even
because-
applies when you have legal authority to be there?
Yes.
Well,
How is it trespassing when you actually have the authority to be there?
we have limited authority, though.
Right.
We don't have, we don't really have police powers.
No.
If you look at the enforcement, and actually we have, whatever right we have to fine has to be enforced by someone else.
Mm.
You know, for example, a violation is going to be enforced by a police officer.
Years ago, under the wetlands regulations, there was a provision that if you had reason to believe that there was a violation being committed on a parcel of property, you had the right as a commissioner
Mm-hmm.
to enter that property. And I forgot which commission it was, but one commission was sued by a property owner for doing that. And the courts came back and ruled that in fact, you cannot enter a person's property without the owner's consent unless there's if you've got a notice of intent before you,
Right.
then the implication is there that you have their consent to go on their property. But
Oh.
you can no longer just go on the property without the owner's permission. That was actually a class I was in at the MACC meeting a month or so ago with Gregor McGregor and talking about commissioners doing bad things, like entering property without property owner's consent, and how, he went through a couple of legal cases that I actually have at home, Michael, that you might be interested in, where commissions did that and how much trouble they got into personally.
Then why don't we do this for that sense when we amend it this way? The members and agents of the commission may enter upon privately owned land for the purposes of performing their duties under the bylaw and these rules and regulations with the permission of the property owner. Period.
Do you think you should put in something about the fact that if there's an application pending before the board, then you have the right?
Well, then you get into implied consent and that sort of
Right.
thing. If you recall,
Yep.
with Mr. Post, he had filed with us but did not give us permission to go onto his property.
Yes, I remember.
Which made it kind of difficult for us to,
And DEP had issued a superseding
evaluate it.
order, remember?
yes.
And they put in their order that we had the right to enter.
Now, riddle me this. Being what you just said, why is their bylaw not worded the way you're suggesting ours should be? So they clearly didn't feel that was an issue.
I'm not a mind reader, I can't say.
Yeah.
But I think to protect ourselves, I'm going back to the time when the three amigos went out to that property and,
Yeah,
we
there's
were
some
lamb-basted,
choice words for you.
Word choice words.
That too.
So I think that's how I would amend that sentence. And I think it stands to reason. We could put in something about how we won't go on a property that's posted with no trespassing
Absolutely.
signs.
Right, absolutely not. And we usually, when
But
there's an
that's
application,
almost self-evident.
But I'm going to say it just seems odd that they didn't put this in their bylaw, or they didn't feel the need to put it in the detail that we're putting it in.
Well,
I mean,
each town is different.
right.
What we could say is, we could say that by filing an application for a permit with the Conservation Commission, landowner or an applicant gives implied consent for us to go onto the property. We could say that.
You could say
That might help, because then we might avoid situations
So
like
how
we've
do-
run into
How
in
do
the
we
past.
reconcile the fact that we require an inspection for a certificate of compliance?
Well,
It's real simple. If they don't let us inspect, they're not going to get a permit.
Right. But we usually, I
Right.
usually try to ask when they're here during the hearing process if we have permission to go on their property.
The only
To
time we
look.
didn't have permission was from Bob Post.
Right.
What about if you have an enforcement order?
Well, I think that's,
Any kind of pending action, I think.
I mean,
it might be addressed further on in the,
it just doesn't seem to make,
That might be something we could
doesn't
ask
seem to make sense
MACC
that we
too.
require these inspections
Yeah.
and things, yet you're saying, well, we need permission though. I don't know. What, are we gonna use Google Earth now? Satellite drones? What are we
I
doing?
mean-
Well, they were
What are we
saying,
doing?
there was some
We need to
conservation
build a
commission,
drone.
I forgot where it was, they actually used the police helicopter from the town, took the conservation commission members up in the police
Yeah.
helicopter
We
to do a
had one that go
flyover
for a ride.
to find the violation.
does Auburn have
Oh,
one?
my goodness.
I don't
Not
think we
yet.
have one, do we?
Not yet.
We have a
this-
boat,
the
they
next
can take
budget
us out,
though.
they can take us out in the boat.
This situation kind of reminds me of when I was working on the Asian Longhorn Beetle project. Is they told us when we tried to make every effort we could to contact the resident, homeowner, etc. But what they told us is you don't actually need to ask for permission, because we had authority to be on their property as part of the project.
Right.
And if they objected, then we would take the appropriate steps. But
As
a
matter
number of my
courtesy.
coworkers got in the habit of asking for permission. I said, no, we have to be diplomatic, and we have to notify them, but we don't actually have to ask them for permission. So I don't know if this
But
is
I
an
think-
analogous situation.
Like he said, if there's a sign that kind of defaults it that you're not supposed to be there, now it flips the other way. Now it's like, okay. Well,
So anytime we see a no trespassing sign, does that then become like, oh God, what do we need to do?
It's real simple. We just say, when they file the application, we say, look, we need to do a site walk. Do we have your permission to do a site walk? No, you don't. You can't walk the property. Well, sir or ma'am, I just want you to understand that if we can't see the work that you're proposing to do, there's a good chance, or there's a chance, a possibility
Right, you
that
don't want
your
to threaten it.
permit will be denied. I mean, you're right. It's absurd, but who knows?
anyways.
All right. So,
It's almost time, but we'll.
So maybe we
finish
should
up
just
the thought.
add to that section, having a filing pending before the commission implies consent.
yeah, that's what I said.
Okay, no, but as opposed to modifying what the existing wording says.
You want to just leave it the way?
Simply adding that line.
Okay, then when we do this, we can leave that the way it is. Applicants or owners and applicants requesting permits under the bylaw by submitting an application for a permit to the commission, the applicant and the owner gives implied consent to the commission to go onto the property for purposes of performing their duties under the bylaw.
Sounds about right.
Okay. Can work on the wording
Okay,
more precisely later. I just want to get through this last section.
yeah,
We can be done.
absolutely.
When the commission determines that an activity is in violation of the bylaw, these rules and regulations or a final order of conditions, the commission may issue an enforcement order. Violations include but are not limited to: A, failure to comply with the final order, such as failure to observe a particular condition or time period specified in the permit. B, failure to complete work described in a final order when such failure causes damage to the interests identified in the bylaw. C, failure to obtain a valid permit, and then put in parentheses, order of conditions or extension permit prior to conducting an activity subject to regulation of the bylaw. D, conducting work that causes harm to an area subject to protection under the bylaw except as provided under a valid permit. An enforcement order issued by the commission shall be signed by a majority of the commission. In a situation requiring immediate action, an enforcement order may be signed by a single member or agent of the commission with the consent of at least one member of the commission, provided said order is ratified by a majority of the members at the next scheduled meeting of the commission.
Now, that's a little different too than the Rutland, because that says with the consent of another member, right? One member can issue it with the consent of another member?
No, I think that's just modifying, if we had a conservation agent, which we don't.
Yeah.
he would have to
The
call-
agent with the consent of a member, got it.
Agent.
Okay,
Yeah,
Huh, okay.
which we'll probably never, ever have.
well, we'll see. So,
Anyways, okay, so we're gonna,
we'll stop from tonight.
okay.
We've got about another
Oh,
12 pages, but we're getting there.
we're getting there.
It's like eating an elephant, one bite at a time.
That's one giant bite, man. Okay, well, at least, we made some progress, so that's good.
Sheila, I'll scan this and I'll send it to you.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
All right.
Half hour well spent. Okay, let's see here. I've been very bad. I did not follow up on electronic access. I apologize. We seem to have electronic access though. Miscellaneous, 50 Faith Ave. Did you distribute that paperwork to the other board members for the next board meeting? You know, the one you brought me to my house?
Well, you mean what they
Diamond?
submitted?
Yeah.
Well, what do you mean, the planning board and the zoning board?
No. What they submitted to Conservation Commission, asking for the amended order of conditions for the next. You
Did
didn't
I
distribute
submit that to the other boards?
No, to
No,
us.
to us.
No,
to other-
I don't think so. I think I was just holding everything.
No, it's not in our packet.
Okay.
No.
All right, for the next meeting, Diamond will be in on the 27th. They have requested an amended order of conditions.
We're gonna fill it in, aren't they? They want to propose that.
The request to amend the order of conditions, Sheila gave me a copy of it. I didn't bring it with me. It went to DEP. It's from Waterman Design. And it
Yes, Wayne?
No. It asks to amend the existing order of conditions to build a service bay to reflect the actual service bay that was built, which is twice as big as the original permitted one. And on an amended order of conditions, it asks you to amend the order to include the building of the road.
Come on.
That's gonna
Come
be.
on.
1 minute. So they're gonna submit a new plan and ask us to amend the existing order of conditions.
Correct. They'll make their arguments here on the 27th. The board will need to decide whether it's
Not
going
a
to
minor
consider it.
modification.
You're going to need to decide whether you consider it as something that you can amend or not,
Okay.
and we will advise them accordingly.
Will we get guidance from DEP before then?
I already have guidance from DEP.
Okay. You want to share?
We'll see what they do.
Share with the class?
Gonna
I
see
don't know
what
if
they
it's
actually come up
appropriate for me to,
That's fine.
I will share it at the meeting.
That's fine.
Ah,
That's
Um,
perfectly fine.
I just say read policy 85-4.
I will. That's on their website?
Yes.
Thank you.
So anyways, Sheila will distribute it. They're on the planning board's agenda on the 26th for a modification of the site plan. They're coming here on the 27th to make their case for their amended order of conditions, and they're going to the ZBA meeting, I forget the date.
The 21st.
21st, right, of March, correct?
So I'll just I don't think they gave me sufficient copies for everybody,
Okay,
conservation, so that's just gonna be like a discussion anyway.
right, you're gonna need to put it on the
All right.
agenda and specify what was submitted.
Okay.
I had a conversation with Mike Scott yesterday about it, so.
Okay.
All right, so that's coming up, just, make sure you read it carefully, what you get.
I will.
Okay. Site visits, 273 Washington Street. Now Sheila tells me that she got something from them, but they're not coming in tonight. Oh, I skipped one, I'm sorry. Let's go back. Lycott's extension request.
That's to de-weed the ponds.
Yeah. What they did was, I was kind of wondering about this at the last meeting because, the act extending permits does not require the board to do anything in order to extend a permit. It's automatically given, done. So I couldn't figure out why the heck they wanted us to sign something saying that we acknowledged that they would be able to extend their existing permit
Right.
that would otherwise expire May 9th
Okay.
of this year. It won't expire until May 9th of 2017. But in reading his explanation letter here, they need this to document for the license. Well, they needed to document their license when they apply for the permit to apply the chemical de-weeding products.
Okay.
So anyways, I just need you to give me the authorization to sign this thing acknowledging that we acknowledge that they have the right under the Permit Extension Act and the Acts of 2012 to extend this until 2017.
Now, excuse me, does our budget still contain money for the de-weeding, or is
It
that?
does not.
No,
That's what I
all
thought.
It's
highway
under, it's
defunding.
under
DPW.
DPW, thank you.
Oh, perfect, okay.
Yep.
All right. I will make a motion to sign that document to allow them to do what they need to do.
Okay. They just need documentation for their, when they apply for their license, that's all.
Okay.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. Okay.
So I'll just make a copy of that for the file and send that original
Yeah.
off to them.
Yeah, there's an envelope here for
Okay.
them. You know, I'm not quite so sure that this Permit Extension Act is really all it's cracked up to be, but it is what it is. I mean, there's anything that was in place between August 8th of 2008 and August 8th of 2012 is automatically extended 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's probably some orders that you'd rather not see extended 4 years,
But it's automatic.
but it's automatic.
Interesting.
So today is the 12th, correct? No,
13th.
13th. 31303. 31313.
Yep.
Okay. So anyways, that'll take care of them. Okay, so now we're back to 273 Washington Street. What did they contact you, Sheila?
Yes, Scott DeRozier from Inland Harbor called me and was questioning what debris was in the stream. And I said, well, I didn't go to the site. And he said, well, it's a construction yard. And he was wanting to know how far away from the stream or that wetland area any debris should be. And he said, well, it's concrete is out there because he didn't think that was going to be falling into the stream. I said, I wasn't at the site. I don't know what the debris was, but I thought there was some wood involved.
Well,
so I
if
just
they're
left
gonna
it.
if they're gonna have any activity at their construction site within 100 feet of the wetland, then perhaps they should file. So then we could set conditions on what's supposed to be or not supposed to be within 100 feet of the wetland. I don't know. I mean, I wasn't at the site, but Mr. Garland and Mr. Fallon were.
We were, and there were materials that were substantially closer to the stream than 100 feet.
Mm-hmm.
They were
dumped right on
They
the edge
were
of the hill.
basically on the hill, and they were ready to cascade in. They
That's
probably
right.
have
I
since
had
with all the
said that.
snow.
Oh, sure.
I had said that to him. I said I thought there was some things located on the banking that could possibly fall in.
Right.
Mhm.
And that's when he said, well, concrete, I didn't think that was going to be.
Well,
I said, I didn't go to the site, I don't really know.
Yeah, I
So-
like that.
maybe we
He
could send
couldn't
Mr.
come to
DeRozier a
me.
letter asking him to
Let's wait
attend
till
our
you
next
get to
meeting, so we can explain it to
I
him.
really don't think he wants to come in.
That's too bad.
Well, you know, perhaps you'd like to have it referred to DEP, you know? You're not supposed to be storing concrete anything, you know.
Well, I told him I would tell him how close he could be. I didn't know what.
I mean, does he
the
park
distance
his machinery
Oh,
from
yeah.
this construction
Right.
site
There was
next to the
machinery, there
wetland?
were, we saw a
There was
bunch
a
of
backhoe
stuff.
that was right there that they moved.
I mean,
shortly
our
after
basic
that.
order of conditions
But there
doesn't
were like
allow,
these, what were they? It was almost like a, it was like an electrical panel, right? To a,
Yeah,
To like what, a big, I forget what it was. It was like this big piece of equipment. Do you remember?
yeah.
So,
but I mean, in our order of
That bug's
conditions, we
laying
don't
down.
allow the parking of,
It's a stink bug, don't
It's on
crush
your
it.
shoulder.
oh, it's on your shoulder.
Oh, he just wants to get in
Folks at
there.
home, we have a stink bug in the building.
it must be the shirt, right?
Well, it feels like spring
In
out
our order
there.
of conditions, we don't allow the parking or refueling of machinery
we
or
don't,
equipment
right.
next to the, you know, within that 100-foot
No.
buffer zone.
Well, I moved that we sent a letter to them, asking them to appear at our next meeting with a remediation plan.
Which may include the filing of a notice of intent, anyway.
We could say that, and then maybe put a CC to the DEP.
So did you want to make that a motion,
It was a
Michael?
motion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay, don't be sorry.
So,
I
ask him
move.
to send a mediation plan.
Remediation
No,
plan,
Remediation.
remediation.
which
plan.
may include a notice of intent
You're our mediator.
Okay,
with a CC to DEP.
With a CC to DEP.
okay.
S'il vous plaît.
Is that,
CC.
is there a second on that?
I'll second that.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. Enforcement orders, we finally have a clean list there, but then 273 Washington Street.
Well, that's right.
You never know. Okay, pending miscellaneous Pappas. I neglected to ask Adam whether there was any status report from Graves Engineering on this. Have you heard anything?
I
Shannon?
haven't heard anything. I'm thinking if something came, you would have
Given
brought
it
it
to you.
to me.
Has anything changed
I usually
since
get the
January
mail too, and there was nothing.
on that?
No, it's under review. The last meeting we found out that Adam had missed on his email the request to send it over to Graves
Okay.
for the peer review, because
Alright.
we voted on it the last meeting, or
Alright.
2 meetings ago. I did have a well, actually I got an email from John Rockwood that he, I think, it seems to me that Graves was going to contact Leonard Engineering, that's what Adam sent them to, Leonard,
Mhm.
to get the documentation about the wet pond that they did
Right,
versus the detention pond that was in the permit.
right.
So John Rockwood took it upon himself to go over to Graves Engineering and provide them with his documentation on the issues. And Mr. Walsh was not aware of any of that, of course, about what we were really looking for. So now he's aware, so at least we know we'll get a proper review.
Okay, good.
So hopefully we can check on the status on that and find out what's going on
Okay.
with that one. Rochdale Bridge Street, we're just carrying this so we can keep an eye on it, so we don't
Right.
forget. 22 Adela Street, I believe he had contacted us that the work was completed on that one?
No, he's going to do something in the spring, and then...
Okay, so we're just waiting.
He's gonna call us and
Okay.
let us know when it's done.
All right, so we're waiting, so there's no site inspection due until
Nope.
we get a call?
Right.
Okay. I just couldn't remember the sequence. Okay, minutes. 11:28, I know, and I got it. 2:27.
Um, 712 Oxford Street South, the second line there. Present were Bruce Wheeler, son-in-law, and tree service. Maybe the word representative.
Right.
Dan
Yeah.
Mass or something in there.
You
Since
saw
he
that,
is a
Dan?
person.
Okay.
And the bottom paragraph after 730 Hilltop Farm Road, the first line, Mrs. Henderson explained that. I think
Thank,
overlooked a Y on the they one.
Yeah.
That's true.
I had that too.
Dun, dun.
I don't know if it's me, but on 29 Warren Road, I got confused. An enforcement order was issued for the cutting of trees on Auburn Water District property. Then it goes on to say about planning to remove the docks.
I think
What's the relationship there? I think
it was the
missed-
enforcement order was issued, it should have been, I think had been issued, because it makes it sound like we just issued it that
Yeah.
night. It had, that's what it was initially issued for, was the trees removal.
Okay.
And then, so investigating, the issue came up about the docks being out there, and the board decided that there were never any permits granted for the docks were there illegally. We amended the order of conditions, the enforcement order to include that, and ordered the water district to remove the docks.
I remember that, but the way this is worded, it's like, what does cutting trees have to do with removing dogs?
Yeah, I mean,
A little
You had
Well,
to
I don't
be
even know
there.
that you need to explain the
You had to
beginning
be
part of it
there.
more
anyway, so.
explanation maybe.
Dan, did you go? I mean, Dan, did you go, or Charlie, Chuck, did you go to look at the
I
docks?
did.
Sheila went.
Did you?
No, she had the
I took
She had
all
photos.
those
photos.
Pictures.
Wow,
I
impressive.
went in from, was it the Hampton Inn?
Yeah.
And how good a job, or how thorough were they in removing them?
I couldn't see anything.
There were no docks,
And
no
there was,
gone.
snow there, but there was
Okay.
nothing sticking up through the snow. so-
Cool.
All right. All right, Sheila.
And I already sent the notices out to them.
Okay. It's all right otherwise.
Under Pappas Complex, the board had requested that Graves, should we say Graves Engineering in
Yeah,
the first
I-
line?
Yeah. I
So
have
that we know
down.
it's Graves Engineering. You know, you said it down at the last
Right.
line, but
Okay.
the first part of the paragraph should probably say it too. That's all I saw.
So is there a motion?
I'll move to accept the minutes as amended.
I'll second that.
Minutes of February 27th.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions?
Abstention.
Okay, thank you. All right, the next meeting is March 27th, as we already talked about. Does anyone have anything else that they'd like to discuss?
No.
Then I'd entertain a motion.
Move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. Thank you very much.